Hey y'all, Kate from LoveStory here, and today I'm going to be talking about Bleak House. Finally, I know some of you have been waiting for this review, and so now here it is at last. So I finally finished Bleak House last week, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which is a really good rating for me. It means I really enjoyed it. I might not pick it up again, but I really enjoyed it. And so here is the version that I read, a very old copy with like super thin pages, like Bible thin pages. But anyways, on with the review. So 4 out of 5 stars, like I said, Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I loved Dickens' characters. I mean, everyone knows, if they've heard anything about Dickens, that his characters are amazing and memorable, and he is a master at creating memorable characters. And I was actually surprised reading this because there are so many different characters in this book, and I usually have a very hard time keeping track of a lot of different characters doing a lot of different things in a book. But I was surprised because I actually remembered most of them, and when they'd show up later in the book after we hadn't seen them for several chapters, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that person, I remember that name. And so I can attest that with my very poor memory, I still remembered a lot of Dickens' characters, and that's a big attestment. Like I said in the reading vlogs from last week and the week before that, and maybe the week before that, I can't remember how long I've been reading this book, I got confused and concerned at times because I lost track of the story, and at times didn't even know what the main storyline was because we were so far off on a tangent. But because of the characters, I was so invested in the characters, I had to keep reading, and so that's why I finished it. A lot of other books like this, I would have DNF'd it because I just don't know what's going on and can't keep track of everything. But I was so invested in the characters, and even the minor characters, that I pushed through, and I'm so glad that I did. The description of the places that he puts into this novel are awe-inspiring, at least for me. Like, as he was describing each one of the places, I could see it instantly from the first description, and it just like went into more and more detail in my head as Dickens was going into more detail about the place. And I think that's another one of his trademarks, is excellent description of location, place, atmosphere. It was fantastic. The ending of this novel brought it up from a 3.5 to 4 stars for me. I was not expecting that kind of ending at all. And like I talked about there being memorable characters and being able to remember a lot of them, and one thing that Dickens says well that a lot of authors will forget to with so many characters is that he brought them all around at the end, which I didn't really feel like was necessary with some of the characters. I wasn't wondering what happened to them at the end, but I still appreciated the fact that each one of the main characters that we saw a lot of and went on tangents with, he brought around in the end and showed what happened to them in the end. So I really appreciated that he gave that thought for his readers, especially considering I think this was first originally released as like a subscription, like you got one chapter at a time, and so like I feel like once me as a reader, if I was reading this just one chapter a week, I feel like once I knew what happened to Esther, who was essentially the main character per se, I would have probably stopped reading and moved on to something else. But he continued through later, a couple of chapters afterwards, to round out some more characters, and so I really appreciated and respected that he spent that extra time rounding out those extra characters. I gave it 4 stars because although I loved it a lot, and it was my most surprising read of October, I thought that there was still a lot of exposition that didn't really need to be there and distracted me, but I still enjoyed it. So it was like, it wasn't really needed, but I loved it, so that's why it was a 4-star instead of like a 3-star or 3.5 star, because I still loved everything that I read, but it did distract me. The Never Cure, where I get my bibliotherapy recommendations from right now, recommends this as part of the 10 best novels for 90-somethings, but they don't go into detail on how to determine these books, what it really means. But reading this book, the prose, Dickens' prose, reminds me of an older person talking about stories from their past, which essentially, in a couple places, we get Esther saying, like, I'm writing this now from the future, essentially. So maybe that's it. I'm still not really sure what that list means or entails. But anyways, my review is 4 out of 5 stars. Really great Dickens book. If you're a Dickens fan and haven't read this book yet, I recommend it. If you like long books with very memorable characters and great description, I recommend it. If you're not a Dickens fan, this might not be the book for you, because it's really long, 800 some pages, and it goes into a lot of exposition. And if you're not used to Dickens writing, you might not like this book, but I loved it. 4 out of 5 stars from me. And that's my quick review on Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've read this book, let me know what you thought of it. If you've read other Charles Dickens books, let me know what your favorites are. Obviously Christmas Carol, Oliver Twist. He's such a fantastic writer. Like, comment, subscribe, look for more classic reviews. A lot of my bibliotherapy books are classic books, so that's why I'm reading a lot of classic books. Anyways, that's it for now, and I will talk to you all again soon. Bye.